Have you ever gone into a sales call with a list of questions? You fire them off just as you were taught? What are your challenges with your current providers? Can you describe your decision-making process? But even as you ask them, it feels more like you're interrogating them instead of actually connecting with them. The call ends, and you feel like you aren't any closer to doing business together. Hell, you don't even believe they'll remember that conversation 10 minutes from now, let alone take the time to send you the email that they promised. Well, stick with me as we learn 3 simple steps taught at Harvard Law School's program on negotiation. And once you apply them, you'll be able to connect with prospects faster and in a more lasting and meaningful way. You'll even be able to use these techniques to avoid boring small talk in everyday interactions with friends, family, and coworkers. So stick with us. I'm Benjamin Kowalski with Freight 360, where we provide the latest transportation sales tips and training videos to help you reach your goals faster. If you're a fan of the content, please support us by crushing that like button and sharing us with all of your colleagues and coworkers. And for more information on our Freight Broker course, Freight Broker Basics, be sure to check the link in the show notes for more details, or go to freight360.net for more free training material. So, you started a new sales job and you need to talk to lots and lots of people. Some are coworkers that you're going to want to bond with, but most are the list of hundreds of prospects and leads you're expected to establish trust and rapport with in order to close sales and do business together. Now, you don't want to come off as too intense or ask intrusive questions, but when you stick to the small talk, it gets really boring really fast. So how can you easily and quickly connect with them? Well, meeting new people, especially dozens or hundreds of people, can be tough. Small talk can be even harder. It can be awkward to ask real questions like, what are your issues in your transportation department? But sticking to the shallow questions like, boy, logistics can be stressful, am I right? Or Mondays, right? What I wouldn't give for another day off, can be even worse. But luckily, there's research on how to make small talk into something more meaningful. And it shows that it's easier and actually more enjoyable for everyone involved than we probably think. The key is to understand that everyone really wants a deeper conversation. You just need to give them permission. And studies point to 3 techniques you can use in a sales call, networking events, a cocktail party, or even work functions that will really help you meaningfully connect with others. Tip 1, ask deep questions. A deep question asks someone about their values, their feelings, their beliefs, or their experiences. But rather than asking someone about the facts of their job, a question like, do you work in the office or do you work remote? These questions ask how they feel about their job. What's the best part of your job? Or what do you enjoy most about it? Studies show that people love answering deep questions because it gives us a chance to share something that's actually meaningful about ourselves. Deep questions are also easier to ask. Like, I'll give an example. When I'm at my daughter's dance class and I'm sitting there with the other parents, I might ask, hey, what do you do for a living? But then I'll follow up with, hey, do you love that job? Or do you have something else that you've ever dreamt of doing? There, I'm only 2 questions in and I've gotten to somebody's dreams already, something they actually care about. Now, starting with smaller questions is best though. Something like, maybe how long have you worked there? Or, hey, what's it like in Memphis this time of year? This will help the other person feel more comfortable and a little relaxed when you start. And this is a great note. High-performing salespeople, they ask 10 to 20 times more questions than the average person, which makes the person they're speaking to feel more at ease and like they're actually being heard or listened to. Too often, newer salespeople think that the point of a conversation or a sales call is to convince the other person of something. But the real point of a sales call, or any conversation for that matter, is simply to understand the other person. But it isn't enough to simply understand them. You also have to prove to them that you're actually listening to them, which brings us to tip number 2. And you guessed it, prove you are listening. Often when we're talking to somebody new, there's a subconscious suspicion in the back of our minds, right? And it's, is this person really listening, or are they just waiting for their turn to talk? You can only connect with somebody if both of you believe the other is actually listening. So it's essential that we prove that we're actually listening. And one way to achieve this is through asking follow-up questions. Follow-up questions, they show that we're actually paying attention. They also help the other person to trust and like you. This is a technique, again, taught at Harvard School on Negotiation, called looping for understanding. It's when you ask a deep question, listen to the other person's response, then you repeat back. And this is really important, in your own words, what you heard, not just mirroring or saying verbatim what they said. Many people, they don't really know how to show that they're listening. And speaking and definitely making sales calls is such an intense cognitive activity, right? You have to think a lot, and it's really kind of stressful. That speakers, they don't notice how listeners are actually reacting. They're too worried about what they're going to say next. And this is commonly referred to as just waiting to respond, right? I'm sure you can remember a conversation that you've had, right? Just like this. It happens a lot when there's maybe a heated discussion or a debate over some important topic to you. One person isn't really listening to the other. They're really just crafting the next thing they're going to say while the other person's talking. Or in a sales call, the person is just so nervous that rather than listening, they're just worrying about paying attention, right? Now, so after you've asked your deep question, do you love your job? Prove it by repeating back what you've heard, again, in your own words. Then, and this is the step that most people forget, ask them if you got it right. Now I'll take you through an example. Okay, my question. Hey, how are things over in your department this year? Do you really love working there? Their response. Yeah, I really do love working here. I've been here almost 10 years now, about a decade. I love the work and the people I get to go to work with. But just like any other job, it's got its good days and its bad. Okay, my response. Hey, that's really great. Sounds like you wouldn't have stayed there for 10 years if you didn't really enjoy the job or the coworkers, right? It's so nice when you find a fit and you actually like the people you spend so much time with. And hell, even the occasional bad day gives perspective to the good ones. Am I right? Right? I'm asking them and explicitly asking a question if they understood by what I said back is what they meant, right? That's how you prove it. Now, step 3, engage in what is called reciprocal authenticity. Now, I know that sounds like a mouthful, but let's just break it down. Think about the last 2 words in that statement, right? Reciprocal and authenticity. Reciprocal just means felt or done in return or response to something, right? Something happens, the thing happens as a response to it. That's reciprocal. And authentic just means genuine, right? It means you want to say something that is genuine and real in response to the thing that was said to you. Now, reciprocity is deeply rooted in our human nature. It represents our innate inclination to respond to gestures of goodwill with equal or greater positive actions. Now, this isn't just a sense of like obligation, like I feel like I need to do something nice because you did it, right? It's really more like mutual recognition. We both recognize that something good is happening, and that promotes what is a continuous loop of goodwill. Friendship, somebody does something nice, I do something nice for them, they do something nice, right? Think about some of your most positive relationships. They are in some ways a loop of goodwill, right? Now, every conversation, right, it's going to contain a series of small or like experiments. I tell a joke to see if you laugh along. My prospect shares a story to see if we have something in common. But each time we expose something small and authentic about ourselves and potentially vulnerable. And that is, what if I tell a joke and they don't laugh? What if I tell a story and they don't get it, right? That's the vulnerability that we are basically showing the other person when we're willing to tell a joke or to say something that's genuine. Now, the human brain is really fine-tuned to pay attention to vulnerability. It's one of our loudest emotions. We're hardwired. It's built in for us to notice it. But when someone exposes authenticity and we don't respond in kind, right, a conversation or even a sales call feels one-sided. The other person, they might feel judged. They might feel unappreciated. It's most likely not going to be positive, right? This is why it's so important to engage in reciprocal authenticity. Now, when my prospect says something real, like, I went to my son's soccer game this weekend and I had a great time, you can reply with something similarly authentic. Wow, I can't wait for my daughter to play soccer next year, but I'm a little bit sad that she's growing up so fast. Now, if you'll notice, my response is both reciprocal and genuine. It's reciprocal because it was in a response to the statement that they made, and it's on the same subject or topic, right? Children's soccer games, right? And it's both true and it's important to me. This, right, is how meaningful connections come from sharing the authentic parts of each and every one of us, right? And here's the question I get asked a lot. Well, what if I don't have kids? Should I just make something up and lie? No, absolutely not. Because also, that's not genuine and it's certainly not authentic, right? That's just reciprocity without the authenticity. You need to share your real feelings. Maybe you want kids, but aren't there at that stage of life yet. Share that. That's great. My wife and I don't have children yet, but I'm really looking forward to that next step in life, right? Or maybe you're much younger and you're single, and your response might be, wow, I can remember when I was that age. I really just loved looking up the stands to see my parents watching me play soccer or t-ball or whatever it was, right? And it still brings back some great memories for me. Remember, it's not important that you agree with them or with exactly what was said. It's important that you reciprocate on the same topic or subject and that it's true for you. So the next time you're preparing your questions for your sales calls, right? Take a look at your list and try to add a few more that are aimed at the other person's feelings, values, or experiences. Yes, you still need to get answers to your standard sales questions like, how is the onboarding process handled for a new vendor? Or how does your department approve rates for shipments? But just remember, those questions, right, only benefit you, right? And they do absolutely nothing to establish trust or rapport. And in logistics, just like in sales of every other industry, right? People prefer to do business with others that they know, they like, and they trust. And if you can't connect with them, right, on a person-to-person basis, there's not likely to be any business coming anytime soon. For more free tips, subscribe to our channel or check out our website, freight360.net. And remember, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right.